what's going on, guys? It's Chris at MLP. I am here with Logan Barker. He's been working out here since he was about a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And for the most part, has kind of been mainly here. He's tested out a couple different gyms, and we'll talk about those experiences for you. But go ahead and give yourself a little background, a little intro to whoever's viewing.
So I'm an incoming freshman at Cal Poly. I've been here for just over 2.5 years now. I came from pretty much no weightlifting background at all, just a various sports, of course, throughout the years, but nothing ever serious like this. And the other gyms were definitely not the place for me in terms of growth, but eventually found my way here through a couple of friends and haven't looked back. It's been a great experience so far, and I'm looking forward to continuing the work just at different locations.
At the college. With more distractions, obviously.
Yeah.
So what did you originally come in here for? I remember, I think your mom told me it was just kind of something to maybe make wrestling or soccer. You were playing other sports at that time. Was it mainly for that, or was it just kind of like, I don't know why I'm here, really?
Yeah, honestly, it was more just a self-confidence thing. I kind of had issues with like being short and scrawny and like underdeveloped in terms of my peers, and I really just I figured this would be the easiest place for me to get ahead of that. I kind of stopped all of my sports. I was playing volleyball and soccer before coming here. And volleyball was fun, but definitely not equipped for my body type. So I was like, well, I was strong with the wrestling, so might as well give the gym a try and see what goes on with that. And found a niche.
So on top of that, he competes in powerlifting, right? So through a little bit of testing, we weightlifted with you. I think the first day we did 3 position snatch till you died, and I can see in your face, or you're just like, I don't think I like this.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to lift with a kid that was like half my age doing 40 kilos overhead, and I'm struggling trying to get the bar in the right position for cleaning.
Who was that?
It was Preston.
Preston Sparks, making people feel bad most of his life. So after that, I remember I didn't see you for maybe like a month or maybe like a couple weeks.
Yeah, we started it in February, and then the pandemic happened.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I took basically a couple months break there for that, but
I remember I sent you some programming during that time, and you said like your squat rack was kind of tough to squat in. You got some bench in.
Yeah, that's not the only good thing.
Was bench. You got some stuff in, but it was one of those where it's like, yeah, the pandemic really threw a wrench in it and all that.
Yeah, and also just staying motivated at home is really tough. Like I have to have that like big brother watching, or else it's very easy to just slough off and not do my stuff.
It's I'm actually really happy we're no longer in that pandemic.
Yeah.
Like I really did enjoy part of it because it was like I got to be at home with my family a lot, but in the same sense, it was like I know there was a lot of people that kind of required this environment.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you came back. We came back from pandemic, and we went after it hard. What happened? What was the evolution from after the pandemic to obviously you starting to compete?
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy actually, from my perspective of the jumps that we started making as I started working out. It was really only a year and a couple months, like including that break where I competed the following April, I believe.
Yep.
And I had already like shot up. I was already at 400 pounds on my deadlift, coming from like maybe doing 60 kilos on the first couple days.
First couple days, it's like bar, 50, 60, and then it was just an incremental jump from there.
Yeah, I remember coming in. The only thing I had really done beforehand, my dad was always in the gym, but he was the classic like bench guy, so that was the only sort of experience I had coming in. So even then though, like throwing 45 kilos on the bar was really hard, and it was like barely 100 pounds. Just sitting there as watching the bench take forever to come up was tough, but fell in love with squatting actually. Squatting was my favorite when we started. I don't know why, but I really love the squat.
It could be since your trainer's favorite is squatting as well.
I remember vividly you and Tim laughing at me when I said that squatting was my favorite, and you're like, I won't last very long.
It's funny though, because like Tim loves everything gym, right? So the fact that if he hates something, it's not hate at all. It's just slightly less liked.
Yeah.
Well, when I talk to certain people and I hate squatting, you can see on their face like they would rather get shot in the foot than squatting. And I think that's the same thing. It's like, yes, I would much rather bench, but I'm a terrible bencher.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather squat, even though it hurts more. But it makes me feel better. It makes me feel stronger.
There's something about like fighting gravity on your way up, standing up with a bunch of weight on your back. It just feels good.
Well, you know what that feel like. Earlier today, he PR'd. What'd you hit?
190 kilos.
190 kilos, baby.
At 67 kilos body weight.
67 kilos body weight. So that puts you at 2 point. Did you do the math?
9. I can do the math real quick.
So 201 would be 3 times body weight, right?
Yeah, that's what we figured out.
So that's a large goal that would be nice for you to hit.
2.8 times
2.8
body weight.
body weight. What's your deadlift?
220 kilos.
220.
Friday.
So that's 3. You're an abnormally good squatter. Like even as good as your deadlift is, you're a better squatter.
Yeah, 3.4 on the deadlift. That was a big one. I was really looking forward to that. Actually, no, 3.4 is 500 pounds, isn't it? I'm not 3.2, 3.3.
Well, 500 pounds, 227. You lifted it off the ground today.
I did. I got an inch off the floor.
We just needed 1 inch today, 2 inches in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so we were coming back from pandemic. You and your dad were in here all the time.
Yeah, 5 days a week for basically 2.5 years.
And you and him, he would always talk about him benching, and him benching more, and him benching more. What was his best bench when he was in here? What do you think he got? He was close to 120, I think.
Yeah.
If not hitting it.
I think he was, pounds-wise, he was right around 260. That was where he kind of stopped coming in.
So yeah, 120. Yeah, so 262?
Yeah.
120 is 2. Did I math that right?
I think so. 120 would be
240 plus 262. Yep.
Yeah, 260. We can do math here.
Carry the 6.
Oh yeah, your kilo trick with the 2.2 is double it and then move it over and then add.
See, I knew you would get that. He's too smart. You probably do it a different way, huh?
No, I started doing it that way now. It's usually faster, I think.
I can just visualize it better, and I tell those guys, it's like once I write it on the board and it's visual, it makes it a lot easier to do it in your head. Other than that, if you try to like write it out in an equation, it hurts my brain. Yeah. So he may have hit 120, and so what did you hit? What's your best?
Today I got to 110, which was good. I definitely think I have more than the thing. I had a bad day today. Elbows were not liking me very much. I don't know why.
Well, you did just hit some heavy singles last week or earlier in the week, so.
108 for 2 last week.
108 for 2, and we also did some overload principle slingshot stuff too, which is going to cause some damage. It's going to force adaptation and maybe just not recovered yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the next goal. You got to beat Dad in the bench.
Yeah, he told me that today actually. He's like, "You're catching up. You're catching up. You got to make it."
I might, you know what? I might give him a text and just be like, "Hey, come in. You got to keep your bench above your son's."
Hey, yeah, motivation for sure.
All right, so we were going through that period, and then you competed. Tell us a little bit about what that competition was like.
Oh boy. So overall, it was definitely a great experience. But coming in, I was nervous. I was so nervous because I was like, first time being in that environment. I had been doing all the training, whatever, but still like had that like little bit lack of confidence of like, oh, like I can do it in training, but what happens when I get on stage and like the iron plates for the first time, or like just all the different aspects of it. Definitely psych myself out. I tend to be an overthinker. I get in my head kind of a lot.
No.
And then the thing that kind of threw me off for that first meet was we started off with the squat. I think at that point I had hit 150 something in training, maybe 155 roughly. Yeah. We opened up at like 140, 145.
Yeah, I wanted to go a little bit heavier, but also I kind of wanted to see like how is he feeling? Is he nervous? I asked your parents like how is he doing? I asked you, and you said sleeping in the hotel wasn't ideal.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was my first time fasting for 24 hours.
Yep. Yeah,
oh my god.
We had weigh-ins, and I thought you did it in wrestling.
I haven't ever like had to go that long without eating though. Like
gotcha,
it was maybe I didn't eat dinner or like I didn't eat lunch. It wasn't 24 hours of no food or water. That was rough, especially like having to. So we did like the day before weigh-in, so I ended up I had
plenty of time to do, yeah.
But still, it was.
And what'd you weigh in at?
Oh, I think I was 130 flat or something.
130 flat.
Or 60. Oh god, I don't remember. I was just on shy of the 60 kilo mark. I think it's 132. I think it was at like 131. I was
you're
a pound
131. Under. You're a pound under.
Yeah.
Still played well.
Yeah, but the thing that threw me off there was we opened up with the squat, the 145. It was okay. It wasn't great. It went up. we go to the second attempt. It was like 152, 155. It was close, but I had done more in training. I remember the fact that I had done more in training, and I missed. I got stuck on the way down. I remember getting to the bottom, and I just bottomed out, and I was like, oh crap, like I can't do this. And so the spotters picked it up, and I stood up and kind of just was in shambles afterward, like rocked my mental, obviously. I had to like go outside, eat a snack, had to talk with you a little bit, and kind of like refocus myself. And it was definitely not enjoyable, but we turned it around, and then we went out for bench, and I PR'd by like 5.
Yeah,
something stupid.
Bench was ridiculous. I remember that because it was like I walked up. I was talking with Tim because he was there helping me count because I had to leave early that day. But yeah, I remember walking up to it. I was like, "Damn, I can see it in your face." And I didn't quite know what to do because it's like one of those things where it's like you don't want to bury a kid and be like, "Hey, no, fucking like let's fucking go. You got another thing."
Yeah.
Because you don't know, like obviously we never really dealt with adversity between you and me as coach relationship athlete. It's been mainly it's like we've only really experienced success in here.
Yeah.
So it was one of those where it's like
success.
I kind of just talked to you a little bit. I don't quite remember what I said. Do you remember what I said?
It was more of just, it was remembering all the progress we got to up until that point.
Yeah.
It was like, stop focusing on the one moment where things went a little bit off. Like, remember where you started and how you got here. And that really, like, I wrote a writing college essay about that. It was like, hey, like that, I'm not even kidding. One of my applications to school was about that experience because I was just, it really, like, meant a lot to me. Like that focus of perspective really helped. Like, definitely.
My heart just grew.
Heart grew through
Oh my goodness. Call me the Grinch. Yeah, no, that was it's one of those things where I think that overall mentality really helps with a lot of guys in here. You know, they'll be like, who was I just talking? Connor, Darth Logan. So he's making pretty good progress, but similar thing. He's like, hey, that was only a 2 kilo PR. I was like in the middle of a peak block, and you hit that 2 kilo PR a week ago, and then before that was a 10 kilo PR from 4 weeks ago, and then that was a 10. And so he was like, and I said, hey, how long you been here? And he's like, I think 7 months. What was your original? It was like 60 kilos, and what was 120? That's 10 kilos a week or 10 kilos a month. And I kind of, when you look at it like that, the progress that you made or raising your minimums, however you want to break it down, is generally going to make you feel a lot better than, like you said, figure the NASCAR, the guy driving NASCAR that blows out a tire that was supposed to be his championship series. Like, it's just something that you can't control sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
So, bench went well, PR, went 3 for 3, and what happened?
We were right. I think I either tied. Oh no, that was the 4th attempt one.
Yep.
We went for, at that time, it was either the state record. No, it was the national record. The bench press record, state and national for my weight class and age group at that time was the same thing. And I think I was 2.5 kilos under or something. It was like 90 kilos, and I was at like 87.5.
We were right there. And so you can go, what was it? You can go half kilo above state record to hit a state record. And so when it's the 4th attempt, it doesn't count towards your total, but it does count for a state record. But you have to have hit the 3 lifts before, and then you have to up the record. Yeah. And so we called it, and we wanted to go for it. He was ready, and what happened?
That was the most frustrating experience of my life.
Son of a gun!
I got halfway up, and I think I just rolled forward, like literally an inch. I got just out of my groove and like couldn't just stop.
It was literally moved. It moved off your chest, like I said. It moved off your chest fast. It was coming up.
And what a lot of people I think forget is like in competition, especially with bench press as opposed to the other ones, is you have to have that pause, full stop at your chest for like a second. And then you have to get all that off your chest again. You don't get the training bounce where you get to like concave the chest and push it back up. You have to full dead stop and get it up again. And that was too much at that point.
Well, and I think there's a large Instagram presence where when you're scrolling through that, you'll see that in like bro lifters, and like, I'm sorry if you are one, but bro lifters that throw their hips and bounce off their chest. And then you'll see someone to be like, yeah, but you can't do that in competition. It's like, yes, I understand that you can technically lift that much, but if you're not setting a standard, like, my car can get to 150 miles an hour. It might be faster than your car, but it takes me 4 days to get there because my car is not as good. And that's where I think like the standard of having your butt on the mat, your heels on the ground, your head on the ground with the pause makes a difference in like how much you can lift.
And for the record, I don't arch my back. I am flat back on the ground. All points of contact.
Well, they're gonna take that away anyway, so I'm excited to see that. I also think if you look at some of the stats, like obviously there are very good bench pressers naturally, and then there's also very good like power lifters that are good at all of it. And you see like bench specialists typically not good at the other stuff, right? Because they're kind of, I feel like an arch is cheating the game. You're not getting the full range of movement. Is there a static standard that we need to apply? Like, I don't think flat back, like where it's like the whole lower back is touching, is going to be necessarily ideal. But at least like 3 fingers, you know what I mean? It can't be higher than that. Some standard like that, and it should be checked, maybe.
Because we even had a couple people at that first meet that were bench only, and they're doing like 500 pounds, some stupid weight.
Yeah,
He's like, and the older guys too. It's not just like a young 25-year-old that's coming in benching only. It's like a 50-year-old that's doing. One of the guys had the record for like years and just came in and like upped it by a little bit, his own record. It was ridiculous.
Well, and that's kind of where like if you guys haven't watched West Side Barbell, like you go watch that and you kind of realize that like you walk into that gym, it's a bunch of gnarled up men that are just trying to grind through life and move weight, and it's really fun to kind of see like how a huge generation of powerlifters is. And you kind of look at the generations now, it's like you got Taylor Atwood and you got Russell Orhe and not necessarily Matt Vina, but these guys are pretty boys. They're fucking good looking cats. They move hella weight. They're very efficient with their training. It's not about juicing and fucking eating thousands of burgers and thousands of calories a meal. It's about eating right, staying healthy. And I think that's where the change from a lot of the powerlifting, it's really easy to get fat and deadlift 500 pounds. I'm like, yeah, but it's really...
the whole mass argument.
Exactly. And I think the new age powerlifting community has really pushed, like, no man, like, I'm going to deadlift 500 pounds and I'm going to be 6-pack, shredded arms, like this fucking guy. Sit down, Bodie. You're going to ruin this whole podcast.
You have the gym dog. He doesn't know any better.
I know. Lay down. Stay here. Lay down. I know you're not having a great time.
Definitely trying to chase the Taylor Atwood percentages, man. Which is insane.
So did he up it? It's 11 times his body weight for a total, right?
Yeah, and his deadlift alone is like 4.5, 5 times. It's just ridiculous. Like he's at like, I think when I saw him a while ago, it was like 310. I think it's higher now. I think he's like keeps upping it a little more. He's 72 kilos, I think.
What's his back squat in relation to his deadlift? I think it's very similar to yours.
He's he's at 300 for sure. I don't know how much higher.
Dang.
Have
we ever been over your total? What's your body weight to weight moved?
I have no idea, to be honest. I'm at 520 right now. 520 total. 67. We're probably at like 8.
Let's math.
Or no, probably less than. Probably around 8.
I was gonna say we're getting close to 8. This is not in competition though. This is obviously here. So we gotta do it in competition. What'd you say?
520, 67.
7.76. I just want 8.
Okay, wait a minute. I gotta get real specific now because I might not be 67 kilos. I was 147 as of this morning. Divided by 2. 66.6. Probably not gonna bring it. 7.8.
Okay, 7.8. We'll take it though. We're fighting for any of those tenths of a point. All right. So, any competitions coming up? Like, I know you're going off to college. There's going to be some time to like figure out your routine, whole new group of guys working out with, a whole different setting. So there's going to be a wrench thrown into your daily life. But if you had to pick, if there's any meets coming up, would you pick one maybe in the winter or next summer, or like in the spring? Like, what are you thinking?
I'm probably thinking if I had to choose, probably near next spring, just because I'm gonna be going through major life adjustment stuff this fall and winter.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be insane. We do have a club at Cal Poly that has gone to meets before, so I don't know if they're gonna continue with that. If they do, I'll probably be training, getting ready for that. But
I was gonna say it would make it easier if the guys around you were doing the same stuff.
Yeah, and there's some people that definitely for sure are taking it seriously. Like we watched like the one club owner or whatever deadlifting
Club owner, that was a
585
lot
for
of weight. He is a very strong human being.
Yeah, stupid.
Is
oh,
he?
yeah, that reminds me. The other highlight of that first meet was the deadlift.
Oh yeah, we skipped over the deadlift. Tell us about the deadlift. Okay, first meet, one squat, 2 misses on the squat.
Yeah.
1 make, 2 miss on the squat. 3 makes on the bench, and then
missed the record attempt.
Miss, and then now we're on the deadlifts.
So the
and
deadlift
mind you,
is a roller coaster.
yeah, and mind you, this is we started lifting at what? We were flight 2.
The time of day.
Yeah.
It was early. It was like 7, 8 o'clock.
I think it was 8 o'clock start, and then your deadlift session, I had to leave at 3.
Yeah, it was all day.
Yeah, it was all day,
All day.
and so it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're not good mentally, having to sit and wait 2.5 more hours before doing anything to go into the bench is kind of grueling. But honestly, I think for me, I would have liked to get thrown right back into it.
Yeah.
If I'm bad, I need more attempts right now. And I don't know about you, it seems like the way that it kind of fizzled out worked.
Yeah, for sure. Because I definitely was so in my head. I was so like distraught by the way that back squat went. If I went right back into it, I would have had those thoughts in my head like, well, what if same thing happens? What if like we go back into it and like can't move the weight, whatever. Like having the conversation, the food, the reset, like get energy a little back up and waiting. That period allowed me to like rationalize it a little bit and be like, okay, like listen to what Chris said. It's about the progress. Like we're just gonna go out there, give it best attempt ever.
We're gonna have fun doing it. And I think it's one of those things where I think you and I, we hadn't really talked about it too much, but we knew this wasn't the one and only competition.
Yeah.
Like we've had a bunch of guys in here that have done competitions, but it might be a one-off. It might be 2, but we knew this was kind of a long-term thing for him. So I think that really played into the ability to be like, hey, there's more coming.
Yeah.
This is your number 1. There's going to be
I remember the way you pitched it to me was just like, just go out there and see what happens. Like, just try it, test it out. Like you've been here for over a year. I had to I thought about it. I was really on the fence. Eventually, I was like, oh, what the heck? Like we'll just give it an effort.
My mentality when it comes to like competing, like Caden Thompson competed. I'd like these guys to compete. There's a bunch of baseball players working out behind the camera. But yeah, I want those guys to compete. But they're already they're in here doing the work for a competition. Then it's a matter of taking, obviously, for powerlifting, it's a full day thing. But for weightlifting, it's like 2-hour weigh-in before. They lift for about an hour 15, and then they're gone. So it's really a 3 to 4 hour day that they can just quickly get in and done on a Saturday. So for them to compete weightlifting, it's like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, go up on a stage, get some pressure put on you because everyone's watching. Feel the intensity of like, you have to control your body movements and be explosive in a realm of pressure, and then go and take that on the baseball field. Because it's like when you're at the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and you have everyone watching you, you have to get a hit or your team loses. If that's the first time attempting that, you're going to be very bad.
Yeah.
But if that's like, okay, I've done 3 competitions and I've been in this situation 4 times, that's 7 chances of feeling that pressure that you might get used to it and you might perform better.
Yeah.
So deadlift, we got off track.
Right. So going into this meet, I knew obviously we'd gone over the rules and the regulations of like what's legal and what's not in terms of how you can lift. And in training, for a deadlift, when I'm not like going for singles, I was using the straps and things to try to save my thumbs a little bit because we preach hook grip. Bars on like this, you have however many pounds crushing on your little thumb. Thumbnail. It hurts. Like there's no getting around it. It hurts. So
it's brutal, but there's a little trick. Put a little tape on.
Yeah.
Feels better. Kind of saves your thumbs when you do need to use or get used to hook grip.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, it'll be fine. We got the tape. It'll be great. Just the chalk for the rest of the hand. It'll be okay. We get to the meet. They go over the rules in the morning, and they're like, oh, and by the way, on deadlift, no tape allowed. So all we had was chalk.
That was my fault. I should have done research. I just assumed that it was the 2 rep rule.
Yeah. We preached the 2 reps.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I instantly panicked. I was like, my thumbs are gonna die. They're gonna rip off. I'm gonna get to like 60% of what I normally lifted.
Yeah,
like
my name is Logan.
I was like, it's gonna go, it's gonna go off the rails. We're not even gonna get close to what I need to get to. So I was freaking out. But then we get to warming up the deadlift, and they actually had deadlift bars. I had never trained with a like official deadlift bar where it's a little bit wider and the knurling's a little bit circumference is smaller, so you can get your hand around it better. So we started warming up in the thick knurling and whatever. And I was just like, well, if I can't use tape, I'm gonna use as much chalk as humanly possible to like coat my hands with something to try to protect them. And warming up, it was okay. It didn't feel great, but it was manageable, and we kept going, and it was fine. But then we got on the stage, and for the first time, first attempt, I go out there, and I go to pull with the chalk. Oh, I was late for my first attempt because I had to go find chalk. That was kind of fun. Anyway, I get out there finally.
And by the way, this time I had left.
Yeah.
I was on the way home. I had Tim FaceTime me.
Yeah.
And because I was having to go home, my wife had I think it was a C-set test or C-best test. She had to go do. I had to make sure I was home for the kid. But yeah, so I left him there, and I think that was kind of where it was like everything's going to hell because I'm calling Tim and the FaceTime getting connect. I didn't even see your first lift.
I don't think so.
No.
You were there for the third one for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we opened up at like 160, I think, at that time. I go to wrap my hands on the bar. I'm all freaking out. I'm like, oh, it's gonna hurt so bad. It's gonna hurt so bad. And then I do my thing and have the crowds screaming. Your adrenaline's pumping because there's so many, all the lifters around you are going nuts. The guy announces your name and everything. It's very like high energy environment.
It's a good feeling.
It is really good. I go to lift, and as soon as I start pulling, it like pops off the floor. And I was like, oh, I can do this now. I was like, oh, this is fine. This is great.
My super strength is here.
Yeah, so pulled off the floor. First attempt went great. Second attempt went great. Third attempt, I think we were going for like 182.5 with the intention of going for 187 for a fourth attempt.
For a fourth attempt.
Because the state record was 185. And so I go to pull 182.5, and it's hard. It was PR by like however many kilos at that time. It was quite a few. I think 175 was right before competition.
I was gonna say yeah, because the NPR was okay. Yeah, so it was about like 10 kilos almost.
Yeah, so I thought it was 182.5. I go to pick up the bar, I do my thing, I pull it goes up, but I get to the top, and as I'm like rolling the shoulders back to lock out, for whatever reason, lost a little bit of balance in my legs, my toes came off the ground, I rocked back, the bar came down literally an inch. I had basically locked it out at this point, the guy just hadn't set down yet. So I do my little rock motion, bar goes down, up, instant 3 red lights.
Yep.
Lost the attempt, didn't count.
Can't do it.
I was devastated. I was so mad.
A little heart broke.
Because I was like, the record was right there, and I was like, I can actually do this. And then like 3 red lights, I was crushed. But
what happened?
But like a couple minutes later, the judges and everything are like talking. The spotters are looking around. They're all, and something's going off. Like we're not totally sure.
Mind you, I'm in the car, and Tim's like, "Oh, I missed." And I was like, "Oh, it's all right. Like keep me on the phone." So and I'm talking with Tim. We're waiting kind of for you to come around, and I think at that point he'd show me you and like, "Hey, good job, man." Blah blah blah. And then Tim goes, "Hold on,
wait a second.
Let me call you back." Click, and I'm like, "What happened?"
So the judges call me over. We go to the stage, and they're like, "So, we know you're supposed to have 182.5 kilos on the bar. We accidentally misloaded 187.5 on the bar, which was the record breaker, the one I was going to go after next."
So he had technically pulled it, obviously with some hitch, unexpectedly, and so what'd they offer?
They were like, "We'll give you another attempt. We'll give you another shot if you want." Obviously, I said yes. I was like, I already pulled it off the ground once. I can do it again.
At this point, Tim is about calling me back, and I pick up, and he's like, "Hey, we got another attempt." I was like, "Why?" He's like, basically they misloaded. It was 87.5, and I'm pretty sure you and Tim were already there. And I was like, I don't know, like, what do we do? 82.5, or I mean, he already pulled 87.5. That's kind of what we're going to do. And Tim was like, should we go on 87.5? And you're like, yes. And I was like, yes, okay.
Yeah, because at that point I was like, I need to buy redemption.
It's there.
Like, hey, we know for sure I can get it. Like, might as well. So we go for the last final attempt, doing it again, and all cylinders fired, got it off the ground, if not easier than the first
I was
time.
gonna say stood it up really
Yeah,
quick.
it was real fast. And locked out, didn't hitch, white lights. It was like such a great moment. My dad was in the crowd. He like ran over and like picked me off the ground. He was like, "Hurrah, like congratulations, you did it," everything. And then it was just this great experience. The only thing that like dulled it slightly was we looked afterward at the record numbers. And so, because we were going to check to confirm that it was a state record.
Yep.
And we ended up clicking on the national record by accident. And we see that the national record for deadlift was half a kilo. It was 188.
188 because that person had previously broken the record.
Yeah. I was half a kilo under the national record. At that point, I was like, whatever, I got my state record. I know in my heart if I had another attempt, it would have been there. So like, it was overall a great experience. Like, couldn't wait to do it again.
And so, and you've competed since, right?
Yeah, we did another one last year in February. Springtime seems to be my time apparently.
Oh yeah.
This one was local actually. It was at one of our gyms that was I guess annually they do this, don't they?
Absolute Flex Appeal, yeah. So I went and competed at their first one, and I think it was right before COVID because it was like that January.
Yeah.
Right before COVID, and then COVID happened, and all of us kind of like departed a little bit. But then when we came back, I don't know if they ran it again or they did a deadlift only competition that I don't think we decided to do. But then we held our own at one point, which you couldn't make it to.
Oh right.
Yeah. We did like a mock meet here, which I wanted to see if we could do meets here, and we can. That actually worked out really well. Just they're not going to be big national like.
Yeah. We got a small home gym.
Yeah.
Got that
hopefully
community.
Maybe big at some point, but yeah, we'll see. But anyways, you competed again. You improved all your numbers, right?
Yep, we went up on everything. Went 3 for 3 on the squats. Had the redemption there. I think I went 9 for 9 actually.
You went 9 for 9. You and Kyle competed.
Yeah. My gym partner / closest friend.
I was gonna say they've been close ever since they started working out together.
I thought he was scary. I didn't want to talk to him.
He's vicious, man. Him and Armando, one of our morning clients, they just banter back and forth. He's chorizo legs, and Armando, I don't know what he calls him. He just makes fun of him or something.
Not part of that.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, Kyle competed, which was that was fun to watch.
And there was some major guy there that Kyle pointed out. I had no idea who he was, but he owns a gym around here too. He was like
Alan
Viking
Thrall.
guy. Oh yeah.
Alan Thrall. He owns Untamed Strength. That's right down the road. I think in Citrus Heights. He's got a great gym. It's 24 hours. I recommend people go there all the time. We had a couple guys that lived closer to him that were running our weightlifting program, and we're like, hey man, like if you can't make it to the class, but you can make it there more often, like doesn't it make sense to just go there? You know what I mean?
His son or nephew or something, some offspring was competing.
Yeah, his son's fairly young, I think. But yeah, he's got some clients that it could have been a nephew, I think. But then also like Jen Thompson was there, which was cool to watch. She's a
Yeah,
she's
insane.
She's
Oh my God.
such a good lifter. You know what's funny is that Pete Mangino, one of my morning guys, he was supposed to compete, but due to some medical issues couldn't. But that's like the person he follows to get gym motivation. She benches like more than me, 145 kilos.
She's
she
like 50 something right now.
Yeah, and she weighs less. She's a beast of a human. It's wonderful. So after that competition, you took some time off, and what did you do? What did you spend your time doing?
So I got
Was there some drama involved there? What did you do?
So there was a lot of obviously school got a little rough because AP season rolled around in the May and because
Don't worry about my 4.9 GPA.
Yeah, 4.6. But so school got busy, but the biggest thing that took my time then was I decided to do musical theater my senior year in high school. I got accidentally blocked into beginning drama in fall term because of some weird teacher things. I was supposed to be in a computer science class, but our teacher quit right before the term started. So they were like, stick you in drama. So that teacher basically begged me to do it in the spring because he was brand new. There wasn't a lot of people in the program, definitely not a lot of guys. And I was like, I had some close friends in the class and whatever, so I was like, oh, whatever, like I'll see if it happens. Because I had wanted to do drama at some point because I had friends growing up that did musical theater. I did a show when I was in 8th grade. So I ended up trying out. We were doing Mamma Mia. I got one of the principal roles. So yeah. So I was like, oh, we'll go ahead and do that and see what happens. And like ended up taking way more of my time than I thought it was. It was like a month and a half ahead of time, maybe. No, actually, I was gone for like 2 months.
You were gone for like a solid 2 months. I think I saw you occasionally. You come in, you're like, I'm trying to make it here. And I just have you do something like 5x3. Okay, just get some movement in, do light bodybuilding.
Yeah, we'd have 4th period theater. We'd be running rehearsals, and then we'd go until like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. In the days that ended at 5, I was like, I have homework, I have to study, I have to do other stuff. So the gym definitely took a hit, but everything working up to that point did great for my role because I was supposed to be like the fiance, the beach guy. So it worked out. But
the beach guy. That's what Logan's name is. So I try to give people funny names on here sometimes. I didn't on Cadence. I'll do that. I'll go back and I'll edit it. But yours is beach guy. Yeah. Logan, beach guy Barker.
Yeah, rolls around the time.
And so after that hit, you came back and it was starting to get serious again of like, hey, I got this time, like let's see what we can do before I go to college. And we start looking up records.
Yeah.
Recent records. And what happened?
They were a little heavy.
Everybody got really strong.
They were so heavy.
So all of a sudden, all those records were no longer even close. Yeah, so like the deadlift record, which was 188,
was
all of a sudden
240
kilos.
I was like, oh my god, these guys.
That's demoralizing, right? Especially since like you were just ahead of those guys.
Yeah. And then I bumped into a weight class too, and all the numbers go up, obviously, when you bump up weight classes. But I bumped up age divisions and weight classes and took a huge break, and all the 2022 kids that were lifting were just knocking it out of the park. It was ridiculous.
And so and that goes to go. Like, obviously, you're genetically gifted, and you will always make a fairly good comeback if you take any time off. But then there's that matter of, like, there's the consistency factor, right? And if the more and longer you can, I'm not saying you're inconsistent, but in that short period of time, someone who's been working and they gain that much on you, it's devastating because it's hard to come back from it. Obviously, you've done quite well coming back from that. You've PR'd all of his numbers. Your bench is up to what, you said 115?
Tried 115.
Tried 115. That'll be there probably next week.
100%. Yeah. Bench is going to go up. I have very high confidence in that.
But it is one of those things where it's like it's hard to look at that and be like, man, I should be doing 240, right? Yeah. I'm sure that's going through your head at some point. Like, where do you think your numbers could have been if you didn't take those 2 months off?
Man, I don't even want to think about it. Because in that same time span, it's been 7 months. Maybe less than that. No, it's really, or 7 months.
7 months.
7 months of coming back. All my lifts have shot up. Like 20 kilos on deadlift, roughly. Like 20 kilos for sure. No, sorry, 15 kilos on squat. Or no, I did 210 the meet, so I guess 10 kilos. 10 kilos on deadlift, but I think the hard part was because when I came back, I didn't come back at my meet weights. I hadn't touched on anything heavy that close in a long time. It took me, I hadn't gotten that high in percentage until literally a month ago, maybe. So that like 5 to 6 months was all volume block, all getting the
just
weights
trying to
back
get trying to get the size back on, trying to get the weights back on.
Yeah, it was.
And then the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's all been very specific, touching heavy triples, doubles, singles, all that kind of stuff. Some slingshot work, some overload principle, and the neural pathway that you've developed is obviously very efficient. And for him, I don't quite know where his like top end will be before he needs to start bumping up a weight class. But if he can stick in those weight classes he's in now, which you can grow into that weight class probably another kilo, because in the 66.
67.5 is the top end, so I have to, another kilo.
And then a little cut.
Yeah.
So if you put the cut in there, it's a little bit, grow a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm also definitely not the poster child for nutrition. I do all the work in here and very little of it outside.
What? You don't tell my fucking listeners that?
Hey, it's inspiration. Look how far you can get with the like not garbage. Okay, I do regulate. I'm not like going nuts on the carbs and the fat. Whatever. I am a lot more conscious about it than I ever have been. But like if I am craving a dessert every once in a while, I do that. Or a lot of days I end up I'm in here until like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I go home and shower and like do a couple other things, and by now it's lunchtime, so I've skipped breakfast. Like I am not hitting calorie goals as much as I probably should be if I was trying to really be optimal.
Well, and that's where another thing where I tell guys all the time, I'm like, so many people want to go, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to decrease my calorie intake, I'm going to hydrate more, I'm going to get better sleep, and other stuff in your life starts to suffer because there's so much work, because you're not used to this. It's like going from a dirt track to like a racetrack that's sticky, or like a drag strip that's literally has piles of tar on it, and you can't really adjust to that, right? So it's like, okay, move from that to gravel, and then gravel to DG, and then DG to asphalt, and like small incremental jumps will make the ability for you to make that long-term change better. So for him, his diet stuff might not get dialed in for a while, because you're gonna have to find a rhythm. At college, you're gonna have to figure out your you're gonna have to figure out your eating habits, your schedule, your social life, which is gonna be a whole new thing. Having to figure out, what your roommate Declan's thing is. Like, can you study during a time that he's gonna be there having friends over? Like, it's gonna be a lot. But if anyone has the ability to do that, it's going to be this guy. Very determined to beat everybody. Very
determined. There's a guy that doesn't even know that I'm competing with him yet that's going to Cal Poly that I have since beaten, I think. When I came back, I was a little bit devastated because he did the same thing. He competed like right after I did. And I was looking at his numbers. He squatted 190. And I was ahead of him on the bench and deadlift, but not by much. And then he was posting his training videos. He ended up passing me. And I was like,
son of a gun.
So, because we weigh the exact same, so I was like, okay, man, I'm even competitive with anyone. It's gonna be this guy. We're the same weight class, and I'm happy to say that I've now hit 190 kilos, and my bench and deadlift have gone up higher past his now. So.
Nice. Silent competition. And I always recommend that. I do that. I've done that to myself. Like, I competed silently against another CrossFitter when I was doing CrossFit. And honestly, that was one of those things where it's like, I've never been that good when I had someone to chase that was better than me. And then when I got ahead, it was like, okay, now I've developed this habit of competing against this person. Now how much can I beat them? Right? And that's another thing for him, I'm sure he's going to look at too, is like, okay, I got to find someone new to chase, and I got to make sure that I watch this guy that I already passed and he doesn't pass me, so I got to stay above him. And I think that's, obviously, a lot of people would call that toxic. I call that external motivation for your art, for a habit that you developed of being in the gym. If you don't have the habit, the motivation is fleeting. It's not going to stick, right? But that motivation does drive a lot of guys to push harder and harder and harder. Well, is that about it?
I guess so.
Think so? Yeah. Well, it was a joy having you here, man. I'm excited to see you go, and I know you'll be back. Like I said, I'd love to bring some of the powerlifting boys down to come and find a gym down there that allows us, because I don't think we can come on the school campus.
Probably
not. Yeah. It seems a little weird.
Just pop up with the pool of like 6 people.
What's up, guys? Why are they all wearing tank tops?
I do attribute it all though to your training, like the periodization stuff, the style of training you do. Like it's very unique in terms of anything I had been exposed to before, and obviously the results came. Like I could not have done it without this at all. Like,
I appreciate that, and it's one of those where it's like it's not just MLP, it's also everyone who's been through MLP. We've had a ton of trainers come in here that have no affiliation with lifting, and we have one of the I think probably one of the better weightlifting coaches in the country. In Northern California, we have some of the best weightlifting coaches in the country, and one of them is in our gym here, and another one has probably the theoretical knowledge of most people when it comes to weightlifting that we always bounce out ideas off of. I'll bring Tim back. He's going to be a regular on our podcast, and he'll tell you more. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, as a coach, I've always felt like I don't know enough, and I've always kind of felt like I'm going to bring this kid into the sport and not know enough. But then when I start researching and I start figuring out how to do it properly, and then bouncing ideas off of them, and then watching you thrive, it gives me the affirmation of okay, this will work. This does work. And I can trust myself to do it more. So hopefully it's like Darth Logan and his buddy Colton that just came in. Like, get these guys on the same program and see them thrive, and then we can start something where it's like we're going to develop some very strong, very motivated, 4.6 GPA, very smart, intelligent men. And it'd be nice to kind of have that reputation. And hopefully you remember that you were number one.
Yeah, very briefly.
Wait
for a little bit.
Especially in the powerlifting. Obviously, we've had great baseball players, we've had great weightlifters, we've had great young men, but when it comes to purely powerlifting, you're the first. You're the guy who kind of pioneered our program for us, and couldn't thank you more.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. It's been a really great experience.
All right, guys. Good talking to you. Give me a hug.
All 5'6" of my glory.
You're wide. Holy shit.